Hey, you. Hope you're well. My name is Nikki DeForest. Welcome to part 10 of my Finding Your Soul Purpose series. Astrology can guide you. You have been reading my blog for a long time, or maybe if you've been here, you may know this about me already. The start of or what I call the start of my spiritual awakening was the first time I had my natal chart read. It was life-changing. And I cannot promise you that having your natal chart read by a professional astrologer will be life-changing. And don't let any astrologer tell you that it will be life-changing because there's no guarantee. But our soul purpose can be found on our astrology natal chart. So if you are entirely new to astrology and never really looked at it before, our natal chart is a picture of the sky at the date, time, and place we were born. And our charts can tell us all about ourselves. Our sun, our moon, our ascendant, all of these placements tell us about ourselves. Our Pluto sign and house and our North Node sign and house can give us insights into our soul's purpose. So I got to say this. I am not a professional astrologer. I am not a pro. I have been studying it for years, but I am not a professional. But I have learned some tricks along the way that helped me get comfortable in knowing what my soul purpose was and that I was prepared to do this work. But again, I am not a professional. So if you can swing the fee, go to a professional astrologer and have them read your natal chart with the intention of discovering, insight to your soul purpose. A professional astrologer should be able to read your chart and read the placements of Pluto, North Node, South Node even, and in combining it with all the other placements in your chart, they should be able to get a pretty good sense of what your soul purpose is. It might not be in detail. It's not going to say you are meant to do this, and this is when, and this is how, and it's all going to happen for you. It won't be in great detail like that. But it will give some sense of where your talents might lie or the things that you are supposed to experience in your lifetime. You do see a professional, set the intention ahead of time and be very clear. And if they give any indication that they're not exactly sure how to find or how to get a sense of your soul purpose in your chart, maybe consult a different astrologer. You will likely have a much better experience by being clear and communicating very clearly with them what your intent for the session is. So all those years ago, I think it was in 2019 when I first got my natal chart read. It was in June of 2019. The intention I set for that day was to learn about my career. I was not honest. I was not aware of my spiritual awakening yet. I was not even focused on my soul purpose. I just needed career guidance. That was my intention at the time. I just needed to change my career. So even though my focus was focused on career, I did know the astrologer in advance. And so he kind of gave me some really good wisdom, and he knew my purpose, and he knew that I wasn't there yet. But he left me with some advice, two words, trust and right. And those two words were like the entry point to my spiritual awakening and to my soul purpose. Because this series, although it's a video series on YouTube, this series started out as a blog, and I've been writing my blog since 2020 as I followed that guidance to trust spirit, trust the universe, trust myself, and write. And that's how my soul purpose started. That was like the entry point to me finding my soul purpose. So know Again, I'm just going to say it again. I am not a professional astrologer. I've taken classes for a long time, and this is kind of how I look at my soul purpose in my chart. And I'm going to read this from some of this from my notes, which are, again, it's a blog. I'll leave a link. So, Pluto's sign and house. Pluto represents our soul's intention for being here. Pluto. So, the sign in which Pluto is in and the house in which Pluto is in, and to some extent the degree where Pluto sits on our chart can tell us a lot about our soul's intention for being here. And an astrologer can help you understand those signs. But those astrology readings can be kind of pricey these days, and I understand not wanting to lay out that kind of cash right now. Totally get it. The economy's, So let me kind of walk you through how I read it. So I'm going to read from my blog to help guide you to finding your soul's purpose on your natal chart. So bear with me a minute. My natal Pluto is in Virgo and in the 4th house. So I interpret my soul purpose as being here to heal emotionally. And in hindsight, that is exactly what I've been doing for my entire spiritual awakening. So I combine that with my Mercury, the planet, which represents communication, the planet of communication. My Mercury is in Pisces. So I interpret that as part of my path is to write about my healing and spiritual awakening. That is how I interpret that, because these placements can be interpreted many different ways, but I know my path, I know my chart placements, and I can kind of bring the pieces all together. And I'm going to say I am benefited by being my age, which means I have already had a very long life, and I can already see how some of this has played out in my past. I think as a younger person, I may have interpreted this very differently. Again, it's helpful to have that understanding of astrology, and it certainly a professional can walk you through this very clearly. The North Node, sign, and house can also help you find your path forward. Again, I'm going to be reading from this. So the North Node in astrology represents our path to fulfill our soul's purpose. It represents the growth in this life, our growth in this life. So it can tell us how to move forward. It can tell us what we are to learn, and it can show us our challenges and rewards. So going back to my own natal chart, my natal North Node is in Taurus and in the 11th house. So I'm here, how I interpret that. I am here to learn to love myself. And that has been a very, very big theme throughout my spiritual awakening. And to do that, I had to overcome self-neglect and abuse, and it wasn't easy, but it was my path. And again, I'm older, so hindsight makes it easier for me to see some of these themes and to interpret them, because that learning to love myself, overcoming the neglect, self-neglect, abuse, because it was in my chart, it was aligned with my life path. And so it made it in some ways easier for me. And I definitely had help on the way on that path because it was aligned. It was in my chart. It was what I was supposed to experience. Another takeaway from having my North Node in Taurus and in my 11th house is I had to learn to trust the gifts that I have within me. Trust spirit, trust this path. Remember, my 2 words from my astrologer that read my chart in 2019 were trust and right. The North Node in Taurus and in the 11th house also helps me to enjoy my gifts and to use my creative gifts for a larger purpose, my soul purpose. It is how I know that writing about spiritual awakening, making videos about it, are part of my soul's purpose, which I think the lighting is changing because there's clouds outside, but we're still with it. We're still here together. At the opposite point of the North Node is the South Node. And the South Node and its placement can represent the karma that we are to evolve through in this lifetime. My natal South Node is in Scorpio and in the 5th house. And that to me represents transformation through my creativity. That was a big transformation to get to be a creator because my old career was in accounting and finance. And so that was kind of like a 180-degree change. But it was what I had to move through. I had to learn to trust myself, trust my gifts, trust my creativity, trust this path, and to write about it, write and create about what I've learned and what I've experienced in my spiritual awakening and how I'm experiencing my soul purpose and sharing with others how to do that. But I had to learn, I had to overcome a lot to be able to put my creativity out into the world. My path was always destined to be what it is. It was about overcoming all of my past to move into this beautiful, aligned spiritual existence where I co-create with spirit to share my spiritual awakening and my soul purpose and to share it all with as many people as I could share it. Hello, YouTube. Hello, my blog. So whether you are hiring an astrologer or you're kind of digging in to look at your chart for yourself, and there are free resources for free natal charts online. Just Google it, you'll find them, and it's very helpful. Some of them actually will produce not only like the circle chart, but a graph of all the placements, and some of them will even produce like translate it for you to go, so it's not just the charts and the graphs, but will actually produce pages of a report that talk in more general terms about those placements. That is a great place to start. I'm trying to think of one of them. I think astro.com is where I keep my chart and I can look at it and look at the transits and all those things. I know that a lot of people use Cafe Astrology to do free charts. It is worth your time. It's very interesting if you're interested. If not, it's not for you. Let it go. So astrology isn't anywhere near as simple as I make it sound in this video. It really isn't. I have been studying it for years and I am nowhere near a professional. It is, in my opinion, in my experience, astrology is one of those lifelong kind of things I just love to study. It's not as simple as I make it seem, for sure, but it is possible. And a professional astrologer can help guide you or find clues and hints and maybe even provide you with a bit of a direction to move in, along with the guidance that you're receiving already from your team. You can make it happen and it can help you find your soul's purpose. I'm so very grateful that you're here. I'm so very grateful that you stuck it out to the end of this video. If it resonates, remember to like, subscribe, and set the notifications so you don't miss a video in this series. I love you. I'm so grateful you're here. Be well, beautiful soul.